Good. Um, and can you read through the words?
Sure. Nursery, kick it off, speakable, speakable, conscientious, sabotage, knapsack, to grapple, mundanity, trans, um, transcendent, transcendent,
Transcended.
assert, transcendent, transcended,
Good.
asserted.
Good. Really nice job with conscientious. Mundanity. Really nicely done. Do you have any questions about any of these words?
Yes, I don't know to grapple.
To grapple. It's like to wrestle.
Mm,
So if you're grappling with somebody, you grab them and kind of like try to get a better position. Does that make sense?
yes,
Okay.
and well, um, let me see. I kick it off. To be kicked off is something. To have a kicked off is something else, right?
hmm Yeah.
I
So
I remember it.
so you have read this.
Yes, I have.
Okay. Do
But
you want to try
I,
a different story?
I'm dumb. I swear, because I wasn't remembering. Oh my gosh, I wasn't remembering to grapple when I forgot what is to have a kick it off.
I didn't remember. I didn't.
I, I didn't remember. I don't
Um,
remember.
I didn't remember to grapple, and I don't remember kicked off.
Yes, exactly. I know what it means to be kicked off, but to
Uh,
have a kicked off, mm-mm.
what about in sports? What happens at the kickoff?
Ah, okay, they start the game.
Yeah. So kicked off is like started.
All right.
Okay. And good. Any other questions?
Mm, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
You know, I fake my English.
It's okay. I think faking is a good way to, gain confidence until you don't have to fake anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't worry about it. I think you're too hard on yourself. You do a really good job. Uh, yeah. So, do you want to continue with this story?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Can you read the first paragraph?
Mm-hmm. Well, we had all these children out planting trees, see, because we figured that that was part of their education, to see how, you know, the root systems, and also the sense of responsibility, taking care of things, being individually responsible. You know what I mean. And the trees all died. They were orange trees. I don't know why they died. They just died. Something wrong with the soil, possibly, or maybe the stuff we got from the nursery wasn't the best. We complained about it, so we've got 30 kids there. Each kid had his or her own little tree to plant, and we've got these 30 dead trees. All these kids looking at these little brown sticks. It was depressing.
Nice. That sounded good.
Thank you.
What are the root systems?
The root systems. Hmm, really? Ah, my gosh, what is the root system?
So we're talking about trees. They're planting trees in order to learn about the root systems.
Hmm,
That's what.
literally the root system.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So the root systems are
Okay,
the part below the tree, the
okay,
octopusy part.
alright.
Okay. What about the next paragraph?
It wouldn't have been so bad except that just couple of weeks before the thing with the trees, the snakes all died. But I think that the snakes, well, the reason that the snakes kicked off was that, you remember, the boiler was shut off for 4 days because of the strike, and that was explicable. It was something you could explain to the kids because of the strike. I mean, none of their parents would let them cross the picket line, and they knew there was a strike going on and what it meant. So when things got started up again and we found the snakes, they weren't too disturbed.
Good. Explicable.
Explicable.
Nice. Cool. Meant?
Meant.
Nice. Okay. Really well done. And do you have any questions here?
Mm, yes.
What's your question?
The snakes kicked off. They
Uh,
started.
sorry. Yeah, so this is a little bit different in this context. They kick off.
Mm,
They died. It's like slang. Kicked off.
okay, so it has three meanings, not just two.
Yeah, this is a really strange meaning. You won't see that too often. It might be a little bit more British English kicked off. Um,
Mm,
it's not super common. Yeah, I guess is all I'm saying.
okay, and the boiler is a heater.
The boiler. So if it's in a building that uses hot water to heat itself, or yeah,
Okay, and shut off is turn it off.
shut off.
Shut off. Shut
hmm
off.
Yeah,
Okay,
so it was turned off.
okay.
Other than that, you feel good?
Yes.
Okay. Can you
The
read
picket line.
picket line when there's a protest? A
Okay.
picket is like a sign. So you've got
Mm-hmm.
your picket, toot toot toot. So we won't work or something like that. And there's a bunch of people holding pickets. Um, yeah, saying that they aren't going to work. So the teachers went on strike, probably.
Okay.
Okay.
Um.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Can you read the next paragraph?
With the herb gardens, it was probably a case of overwatering, and at least now they know not to overwater. The children were very conscientious, conscientious. My gosh, conscientious. You cannot give me a compliment because
It's
then
okay.
okay, with the herb gardens, and some of them probably, you know, slipped then a little extra water when we weren't looking. Or maybe, well, I don't like to think about sabotage. Although it did occur to us. I mean, it was something that crossed our minds. We were thinking that way probably because before that the Gorbals had died and the white mice had died and the salamander, well, now they know not to carry them around in plastic bags.
Good. Yeah, and you did do a good job of conscientious before. It's not a big deal. Some words like that are really difficult. So
Conscientious.
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 Hmm. And
Conscientious.
one of our viewers, Anna Carolina, is asking what conscientious means. Can you explain what conscientious means?
Uh, that's a voice in your mind telling you what is the right thing to do,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and and complaining when you do something
So
wrong.
that's your conscious. Um,
Okay.
Conscientious is like when you listen to that voice. Um,
Okay.
so conscientious is like thoughtful.
Okay.
This is really good though. And sabotage.
Sabotage.
Nice.
Sabotage.
I don't know. Sabotage like that, maybe, sort of.
Sabotage.
We were thinking that way, probably.
Okay. We're thinking that way probably.
Yeah. The gerbils.
Gerbils. What does gerbils mean?
A gerbil is a type of like rodent that looks a lot like a big mouse. They're pretty
Hmm.
common pets.
Okay.
You remember those Kia commercials with the animal that was like driving the car?
Yes.
Or they weren't Kia. Were they Kia? I don't know. Yeah, it was. Those were gerbils, I believe. So they're kind of like
Okay.
mouse-like creatures. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and yeah, gerbil. Okay, and can you read the next paragraph?
Okay. Of course, we expected the tropical fish to die. That was no surprise. Those numbers, you look at them croquettes and they are barely up on the surface. But the lesson plan called for a tropical fish input at that point. There was nothing we could do. It happens every day. You just have to hurry past it.
Good. It happens every day.
Ear, ear, ear.
Yeah. Crooked. Crooked.
Crooked. Could you remind me the meaning of crooked?
So it's like sideways. Crooked is not straight. So if you look at them oddly or strangely, then they're belly up on the surface, which means they're dead, um, and floating. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh. It's
Hmm.
a superstition.
Sort of. I mean, he's exaggerating. So, looking at something crooked, it's never going to kill something, but it's like a way of saying they're like really fragile.
Ah,
So
okay.
it's a really common saying. So if you look at something crooked and yeah, if you're talking about like baking, if you look at the dough crooked, it'll turn out wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a relatively common phrase. It's not excessively common, but yeah, more or less. Any other questions?
No, I'm going to use it in my next written class.
Okay. Um, yeah, so if you look at it crooked, how would you use it in a sentence?
Um, I don't know. Uh, okay. Oh my gosh. Um, let me think. Uh, okay. Um, the milk is not going to boil if you carry on looked at it crooked.
Uh, it's not going to boil if you keep looking at it crooked.
Crooked.
That's
Yeah.
a little bit different. So that's like a watched pot doesn't boil, which is
Mm,
a little bit different. So this one is like he'll start to cry if you look at him crooked. It's like he'll cry for a very little reason or for, not very much motivation. So if you do something small, so it's like any small thing you do has like a big reaction, is when we use, if you look at it crooked, there's like a huge reaction. Like, what's another one? He gets mad if you look at him crooked.
Uh,
So
okay.
if you do something small, something big will happen. Does that make sense?
Uh, so. Uh, oh my gosh. When someone look at you, mad at you, is it crooked?
No. So something, looking at somebody crooked is something small. Looking at something crooked, something small. If this small thing happens, there will be a big reaction. So, like I said before, the example,
Okay. In the past, the parents just had to look at the children crooked to warn something. Nowadays, um, uh, they don't care even if you yelled sorry, if you even if you yelled at them.
yeah, yeah, that's
Okay.
good. Yeah, and it's for like complaining to about somebody who's overly sensitive or overly angry or easily angered. Yeah, I think that's perfect, but that's a good example.
Thank you.
And any other questions here?
No, thank you for clarifying it.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Um, and yeah, let's go to the next page. Can you read this page? Actually,
Okay.
can you read the first sentence first? Just that first sentence.
Okay. We weren't even supposed to have a puppy.
Good.
We weren't even. Okay.
What's that? Is it? What do you think about this first line?
Uh, are you asking me what does it mean?
Yeah, like what does it mean? Also, do you find it humorous? If so, why?
It is humorous.
Okay, why?
Because it um my gosh, why? Because they were unable. Sorry, they were unable to raise a puppy.
They weren't even supposed to have a puppy. So,
They
yeah.
didn't deserve a puppy.
Um, it was against the rules for them to have a puppy.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
A puppy. And so he's like, with all of this death that comes before, and he's like, and we weren't even supposed to have a puppy. It was like against the rules for us to even have a puppy. I can't believe, you know,
Ah, okay.
yeah. It's kind of foreshadowing, but it's also just like a really, really funny, yeah, introduction. Anyways, can you read the rest of the paragraph?
Yes. Now I understand. Thank you. We weren't even supposed to have one. It was just a puppy the Murdoch girl found under a Gristed truck one day, and she was afraid the truck would run over it when the driver had finished making his delivery. So she stuck it in her knapsack and brought it to the school with her. What is a
A knapsack?
yes?
It's a backpack.
Okay.
Backpack. Backpack. Okay.
What do they mean with Murdoch girl?
The Murdoch girl. That's her last name. So her name.
Okay.
So that's a common thing we do in the States. We'd say like the Carolina girl.
Mhm.
Or well, probably wouldn't say Carolina girl. We'd use your last name. The Rottenberg girl would probably be more. Yeah. Yeah. So just a way to refer to people using their last name.
Okay. So we had this puppy. As soon as I saw the puppy, I thought, "Oh, Chris, I bet you that you will leave it for about 2 weeks and then." And that's what it did. It wasn't supposed to be in the classroom at all. There is some kind of regulation about it. But you can't tell them they can't have a puppy when the puppies are already there, right in front of them, running around on the floor and yapping.
Hmm.
What is it yapping?
It's barking. Like yeah, yeah. It's
Ah,
a
okay.
it's a like a quiet bark, I guess.
Uh-huh. All right. Um, I guess the time is over, Joshua.
Oh, no way. You mean you came in late and I was gonna go for another 30 minutes. And we have 9 viewers. We can't stop now. Yeah.
Mm,
I,
We
I,
cannot stop now.
no, I think we're good. We've got another 30 minutes. You didn't come in for 30 minutes and it was my fault that you didn't know about the class. So yeah, we've got more time.
Okay. All right. Um, so should I carry on?
Yeah. If you want, unless you want to go, and which is fine as well. But
No, I can carry on. I'd like to. Okay. They named it Edgar. That is, they named it after me. They had a lot of fun running after it and yelling, "Here, Edgar, nice Edgar." Then they'd laugh like hell. They enjoyed the ambiguity. I enjoyed it myself. I don't mind being kidded. Okay.
okay, yeah, keep going.
Alright. Um, they made a little house for each in the supply closet and all that. I don't know what it died of. Distemper, I guess. It probably hadn't had any shots. I got it out of there before the kids got to school. I checked the supply closet each morning, routinely, because I knew what was going to happen. I gave it to the custodian.
Okay, good. Ambiguity.
Um, ambiguity,
Ambiguity.
ambiguity,
Supply.
right?
Uh-huh. Routinely.
Okay. Routinely,
Hmm. Okay. And I guess do you have any questions here?
mm-hmm. Yes. Um, what is the ambiguity?
Ambiguity. So
Ambiguity. What's the ambiguity?
the ambiguity is in his name. Are you asking what it means or what the ambiguity is in the story?
What's the ambiguity is in the story?
Okay. So the teacher's name is Edgar. And so the dog's name became Edgar. And so the kids were having fun with the ambiguity, like the ability for it to go both ways of saying, "Here, Edgar, nice Edgar." And like it's the teacher's name and it's the dog's name. So they can kind of make fun of the teacher while ostensibly playing with the dog. So supposedly they're playing with the dog and talking to the dog, but it could also be meant for the teacher. Does that make sense?
Okay, yes.
And that's why he says I don't mind being kidded, because he doesn't mind that they're using his name to kind of joke around with the dog. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on. 1 second.
Okay.
1 second, Josh.
Totally no rush.
Um, distemper means out of
Distemper is actually a disease.
okay.
It's like a disease in dogs. I'm actually not too familiar with it. Um, yeah, it's a virus that affects dogs, among other animals, apparently. But yeah, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Mm,
anything else?
no.
Okay. So he knows the dog's gonna die, and the dog does die. Again, can you read the gigantic paragraph that is this page?
Okay. And then there was this Korean orphan that the class adopted through the Help the Children program. All the kids brought in a quarter a month. That was the idea. It was an unfortunate thing. The kid's name was Kim, and maybe we adopted him too late or something. The cause of death was not stated in the letter we got. They suggested we adopt another child instead. Mm, and sent, sent us some interesting case histories.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't have the heart. What?
Okay. So what had happened? So they were sponsoring Korean orphan. So they were sending this Korean orphan money. So each child in the class brought in 1 quarter, and they sent the money every month to the child in Korea. And maybe they adopted him too late or something because he died. Um, the cause of death was not stated, but the nonprofit probably suggested that they adopt another child, and they sent some interesting cases, so like some interesting other orphans, but the class didn't have the heart to
Yes,
sponsor another child
I don't
because
understand this part. We didn't have the heart.
yeah, so if you can't bring yourself to do something, so they can't bring themselves to sponsor another child because one assumes they think that everything that they touch will die.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
The class took it pretty hard. They began. I think nobody ever said anything to me directly to feel that maybe there was something wrong with the school. But I don't think there's anything wrong with the school, particularly. I've seen better and I've seen worse. It was just a run of bad luck. We had an extraordinary number of parents passing away, for instance. There were, I think, 2 heart attacks and 2 suicides. My gosh. One drowning and four killed together in a car accident. One stroke. And we had the usual heavy mortality rate among the grandparents. Or maybe it was heavier this year. It seems so. And finally, the tragedy.
Good. Okay. Extraordinary?
Extraordinary.
Yeah. So instead of saying extraordinary, extraordinary.
Okay. Extraordinary. Extraordinary.
Yeah. Extraordinary.
Extraordinary.
Perfect. And the next paragraph?
Okay. Um, the tragedy occurred when Matthew, Wayne, and Tony Mavogordo were there excavating for the new federal office building. There were all these big wooden beams stacked, you know, at the edge of the excavation. There is a court case coming out of that. The parents are claiming that the beams were poorly stacked. I don't know what's true and what's not. It's been a strange year.
Good. Excavating.
Excavating,
Federal.
federal,
And stacked.
stacked.
Good. Okay.
What I forgot. I forgot stacked.
Stacked is piled on top of each other. So we've got a bunch of beams and they're stacked, which means there's one on top of the other. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. So this would be like a stack of bricks or a stack of beams is kind of what they're talking about. Any other questions?
A beam.
Beam?
I forgot. Yes.
A beam is like a long piece of either wood or steel, generally used for building. So like a wooden beam is, yeah, it's just like a big piece of wood, I guess.
Okay, I won't forget it anymore.
No worries. So beam is a large, um, gosh, what was a board? It's like a board of wood,
Okay.
steel. You could also say plank. Any other questions?
Mm-mm. No, it's clear now.
What happened to Matthew Wine and Tony Mavrogordo?
They died.
Okay, yeah. And can you read the next page?
Sure. I forgot to mention Billy Brandt's father, who was knifed fatally when he grappled with a masked intruder in his home. One day we had a discussion in class. They asked me, where did they go? The trees, the salamander, the tropical fish, Edgar, the papas and mamas, Matthew and Tony. Where did they go? And I said, I don't know, I don't know. And they said, who knows? And I said, nobody knows. And they said, is death that which gives meaning to life? And I said no. Life is that which gives meaning to life. Then they said, but isn't death considered as a fundamental datum, the means by which the taking for granted mundanity of the everyday may be transcended in the direction of? I said, yes, maybe. They said, we don't like it. I said, that sounds. They said, It's a bloody shame. I said it is.
Good. Fatally.
Fatally.
And salamander.
Salamander.
Yeah, salamander.
Salamander.
Hmm?
Salamander. Salamander.
Salamander.
Salamander.
Good. There you go. Perfect. Yeah, good job with fundamental datum.
What is a datum?
It's like a piece of information.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's happening here?
Um, Someone else also died. Stabbing,
Yeah.
and they had a discussion in class about all tragic deaths,
hmm
and then someone brought up that the meaning of life is death, and Edgar disagreed,
hmm
and then uh, they they all agreed that death um, is something. mm, I don't know.
Okay.
I,
So you're really right on target. They said first, does life have meaning because there's death? So is death that which gives meaning to life? Right? So life has meaning because we die. He said no. So he's being like really optimistic here and saying life gives meaning to life. Life is the only thing that gives meaning to itself. You don't have to look into death. So it's a little bit more optimistic. And they said like, but so they're disagreeing again with him. They're saying, but like death, isn't it like the means? Isn't it like the thing that allows us to overcome the mundanity of life, like the everyday kind of boringness of it? And isn't it like allowed to be transcended in the direction of something that they can't really say? It's in the direction of something. It's like, well, yeah, maybe. So it's like maybe to some extent death is what gives meaning to life because it allows us to transcend the everyday mundanity, the everyday boringness in the direction of something else. Does that make sense?
yes.
And they said we don't like it. And he's like, that's sound. Um, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And can you read the next page?
They said, we will make love now with Helen, our teaching assistant, so that we can see how it is done. We know you like Helen. I do like Helen, but I said that I would not. We've heard so much about it, they said, but we've never seen it. I said I would be fired, and that it was never, or almost never, done as a demonstration. Helen looked out, of course. Helen looked out of the window. They said, please, please, make love with Helen. He cried in assertion of value. We were frightened. I said that they shouldn't be frightened, although I am often frightened, and that there was value everywhere. Helen came and embraced me. I kissed her a few times on the brow. We held each other. The children were excited. Then there was a knock on the door. I opened the door, and the new Gerbil walked in. The children cheered wildly.
Good. Okay. Looked. Helen looked.
Looked.
Hmm?
Looked.
Require.
Require.
Uh-huh. Require. Embraced.
Embraced.
And gerbil.
Gerbil.
Good. Okay. Um, yeah, so do you have any questions here?
Mm. The students asked Edgar to make love with the teacher, and he turned it down. And they are they were scared. Scared.
Yeah.
Okay. And what does brow mean?
Brow, it's like your forehead.
Okay. Thank you. And and then the gerbil um revives.
Yeah, kind of. We don't know if it's the dead gerbil or a new gerbil, but there's a gerbil who walks in. There's like a new life.
Okay, maybe they bought a new gerbil.
Yeah, maybe a new. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess. Does it have any meaning for you?
The story.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Uh, the meaning. We all are going to die one day,
Yeah.
and it's about it's this cycle of life, and
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah, the cycle of life and the meaning of that cycle.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's sarcastic, but basically it's talking about carrying on and seizing the day.
Yeah, and like where do you actually get meaning for life? You know, uh like where does hope and meaning come from? And is it from death or is it from life? And like this idea of love being kind of an assertion of life and something that gives meaning, and also like this idea of regeneration, the new gerbil, kind of like a reincarnation perhaps, but like, new life. Um, and yeah, so it's kind of this idea of the question between like, is death that which gives meaning to life, and is life that which gives meaning to life? What's Yeah, that's kind of the question, and it's just playing with it, and it's really funny. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Do you have any other questions or any comments or anything else you'd like to say?
No, uh, cheered is the past tense of cherish, or or to cheer someone.
Cheered.
Cheered.
The children cheered. They're like, yeah, woo.
Like
Kind of.
when you make a toast
Uh, Not
and you say cheers.
quite. I mean, that could work, but it's not the case here. Um, so they're cheering like a fan cheers at a baseball game maybe.
Okay.
Um, yeah, they're cheering wildly. So like, yeah, the same word, however. So like a cheers, you cheered, he cheered me, or cheered.
Okay.
We'd say toast, probably. If you say cheers, he made a toast, he toasted to me, would be the verb. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So you say cheers, but it's called a toast. The verb is to toast.
Okay.
Okay. All right. But good. Really good question. Anything anything else?
No, no, it's clear.
Okay. Yeah. Uh Perfect. Well, thank you for coming in. Sorry
Thank
about
you.
again.
Thank you a lot, Joshua.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yes, it was very nice. I definitely look it out today. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.